Adventure is made possible by this station and other public television stations nationwide.
Hi, I'm Dodge Morgan. This is the story of 6 people who take on Mount Everest. 6 people who are seeking a very different kind of adventure. To fly over the Himalayas in a hot air balloon. Watch with me. It's called Balloon Over Everest.
Ever since we've been on Earth, we've dreamt of leaving it. Some transcend by prayer and meditation. Others believe that only in death would their spirits be allowed to rise above the mortal coil. But 200 years ago, 2 men harnessed themselves to a lighter-than-air machine and physically ascended for the first time. At last the heavens were open for exploration, and the great romance of flight began. About a giant horse that travels on the wind with a crucible of fire on its back, bringing goodwill and prosperity to all mankind.
God, it's going to be wild. It's going to be absolutely wild. I mean, could you imagine, we're cruising out of Kathmandu Valley, climbing to 30,000 feet. As soon as we're up, we see Everest, and here it comes, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's like flying down the barrel of a shotgun, and it's a bit like that in my mind.
When you look at the group, the 6 of us, Aidan's a Qantas pilot. Goodness me. Okay, he's flown by the seat of his pants on many occasions before, but I don't think Aidan sees himself as an adventurer. Actually, he sees himself as being a really safe person in an aeronautical environment.
Chris, can everyone get together and swing the basket towards me?
Aidan's doing it only because I've asked him to. I think if Aidan had the opportunity to back out, he probably would have 3 months ago, but his feeling of responsibility, personally to me, probably has overridden a lot of the fear that has evolved on studying what the expedition is all about.
So you're not flying as far as you know?
A couple of days ago I wasn't, and no one has told me different. That's why I didn't bring my flying clothes this morning.
Oh, we'll go over and ask Chris then.
Yeah.
I hear Aidan's not flying.
What?
Aidan says he's not flying.
What? No.
No.
What's the story? Well, Chris, don't you recall the discussion we had at the airport the other day? When you said that you'd like to fly, and I said, well, that's fine, Chris, but, I wouldn't be going.
No, I didn't say that. What I said was that I'd like to do some flying.
No,
that's
not
what I said.
Chris.
If I'm not the captain of the balloon, I'll be hopping on a plane and going back to Australia. I'm not flying in the basket if Chris is the captain, because I am the expert at this level. I was asked 18 months ago to be the pilot on the high-altitude flight. That hasn't changed. If it does change, then I don't wish to go on.
Right up to the moment we left, there was a problem with Aidan, and I'm not sure that it was ever resolved. I think Leo's doing it because it's something that he's never done before. In the adventure film area, he's done everything else. And this is another page to his book. It's another chapter to filming the impossible.
Do you know what those are, Jan? Braces? Do you have those in the States?
We call them suspenders here.
Suspenders. We call those something else in England.
I'm afraid we're not going to be able to find you under about 1 foot of down.
Leo's climbed the Eiger, climbed the north face of the Matterhorn. He's been up Everest with Messner. But he's a filmmaker. He sees himself as a filmmaker. Everything's been eye down the barrel of the camera.
If we can fly from Kathmandu to the Dudkozi Valley that flows down from the Everest Base Camp, we'll have done the first trans-Himalayan balloon flight, and I think we'll have probably scared ourselves shitless in the process.
I think Jan's in it for the same reason I'm in it. I think Jan just can't say no to an adventure. I think it's simple as that.
It's a chance of a lifetime, and it's really going to test your limits. For me, it'll test my mountaineering skills, and it will also test my photographic skills, seeing as I'm there as a photographer. And to say no is to deny myself to be all that I can be.
Brian's in it because he loves life. He loves life, he loves adventures, he likes to be in exciting situations, and he walked into Everest, sussed it out himself, and decided, we can fly. So that's Brian.
I thought, well, there's probably a 20% chance of not coming back again, but to have a flight in which you saw something like that, that chance of danger is quite acceptable. I avoid danger like the plague. You must, Phil.
Was it distorting you badly?
Phil's doing it because he's been pulled in by force of circumstances. He's the best balloon maker in the world, and I'll say that without reservation.
You can't have distortion marks in this balloon envelope, can you?
He made the balloons for the expedition. He's been involved in the discussions, in the advice, in the technical side of it. And of course, the more he gets involved in that side, the bigger the hole he digs for himself, and then all of a sudden he falls in.
I thought it was a fairly dangerous thing to try and do. Flying in mountains like this, you know, nobody's done it before, and they're higher than any other mountains. And I don't know, I felt it was just time that I did something that was a bit exciting, a bit different.
Okay, there you go.
Because Everest straddles the border between Tibet and Nepal, and we were taking cameras on the expedition, it brought a lot of attention from government officials.
There's a cameraman in both balloons.
Yeah.
Okay. But we can't take film of the palace because we're 10 miles away from the palace when we take off.
I made 4 trips to Nepal. Each time I visited the Department of Tourism, the Department of Defence, Communications, Home Affairs, Aviation, Foreign Affairs, and I even approached the Prime Minister. But the biggest problem was convincing the army that we weren't going to fly into Tibet. They knew what we wanted. But finally, the last door was opened by our own Foreign Affairs Minister, Bill Hayden, actually getting a direct audience with the King. I then had to go back to Defence, back to Communications, back to Aviation, and all of these departments had changed their heads. They changed the Director Generals, they changed their secretaries. So the file got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. In Nepal, in China, in Asia, people think in terms of generations, in terms of centuries. They don't think in terms of 2 years or 3 years. That's not important. 3 years, that's fast to get an approval. That's fast. Slow for me, but that's really fast for anyone else.
We're ready to go! Let's go, baby! I think we have liftoff.
As soon as we're 1,500 foot above the valley, we'll see Everest. It's a black pyramid 80 nautical miles away, and we're flying straight for it. But we're going to go higher than Everest. We're going to go to 29,000 feet, and we're going to get beyond Everest. And we're going over the biggest mountains on Earth to do that. We're flying 10,000 foot higher than the European Alps, which is the highest alpine flying that anyone's ever done. 10,000 feet higher than those mountains we're flying. And that's pretty out there.
Don't film me and smile.
Smile, Jan.
John, smile.
Come on, we're away.
You see the sun, Brian? It's incredible.
I'm taking down full adult now.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's just beautiful.
Such an impression. I thought it was going over.
We're in a wind shear now.
Hey, they're going to hit us.
Jesus.
Chris.
This could be drastic.
Burn, burn, burn.
Flying balloons across the Himalayas is a very dangerous business. And I was quite concerned that we may have to jump out of that balloon. And if we did, well, then it was really important that we knew how to use parachutes. So we did this course in Australia, accelerated freefall parachuting course. And the funny thing is that it's against all our instincts to jump. We're both mountaineers, and Aiden's a jumbo pilot. And who's heard of a jumbo pilot jumping?
Go! 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000.
Maybe private prayers? No, it's no good praying when you're up there. If you step out of a serviceable aeroplane, you don't expect God to start taking care of you, do you? You know? When I got to the door, I thought I could make a mess of this because I might be frightened, but I wasn't. You just go through the procedure, throw yourself out, and it all goes wrong.
Hey, there he goes. There he goes. Jesus, they're all apart. Oh no, they're the cameramen.
What about that tumble? You guys told me we would go out and be stable. I'm looking down and all I can see is sky. And we do, wow! And we do it again. We spent the first 1,500 feet upside down. These guys are going, and they're yelling to each other. Come on! And I'm going, arch, arch! Why do I keep on looking down and see sky? 4,500 feet pull the ripcord. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Snap! I don't think I'd have got round to my reserve.
If they shoot driving, you beauty.
When I was standing in the doorway, just before I pushed off, it felt exactly like being in the starting gate of a ski race. You have the same count, the same leg movements, you know, ready, set, go. And it was almost as if this wall hit you and pushed you backwards, as if it had arms. And my two instructors kept shaking me, and I thought they were trying to tell me to relax. So I would relax more and more, and they kept shaking, and I realized that they wished I was a little more tense. But I was having so much fun. It opened instantly. It felt as if someone had grabbed my hair and held me right there.
Here it comes! You gonna catch me?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to hit the dot. Look out! I'm coming for the dot. I want to hit the little white dot. I got the dot!
Do you enjoy beating the boys?
Well, I must admit it's fun.
Oh, great! It was so fun. It was. Oh, Chris's cake. You'll love it.
I tell you what, we stayed so close, I have to admit.
I've never seen a basket hit so hard. I'm not there. I thought, oh, boys, it's burn all the way down and break a leg.
I'd let them get out above us.
Sorry?
It's a bit nasty, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
these swine who try to rip our balloons so they could be closer to Everest than us. Anything for 2 bottles of Bollinger, that's my thought.
We were riding on 2 bottles of Bollinger, you know. Whoever got in closest to Everest was going to win 2 bottles of Bollinger.
Hey! Look at the mountains.
There's the peaks, there's the hills.
That's amazing. It's going to be here. You look great. You're really cruising in behind us now.
Oh, shut up, Chris. It sounds to me as though you've already opened your Bollinger.
Where we're going. We're on course for Noombah on the best possible trajectory for the most fantastic mountain flight of the century.
This is incredible, you guys.
How are you, Dad?
I'm doing mighty fine. I'm having a good time.
Well, look, give us a big smile. Come on. Yeah, show us a very good, very good. What about you, Brian? Show us a piece. Come on.
For Brian, this was a climax of an extraordinary journey.
Oh, very good.
He'd brought the balloons all the way from Calcutta to Kathmandu in a 20-year-old truck. Brian's in it really for the British Empire, nothing more, nothing less. You know, it's the sort of honour of England really at stake. The very fact that he's able to get the truck from Calcutta to Kathmandu in record time, solving all the bureaucratic problems that the British Empire has generated over 200 years of colonisation, indicates his interest in maintaining the sort of cultural empire.
Oh, I've written heaps of letters. I've written all sorts of things. There are 8 files there at the moment in the customs house. 8 current files all dealing with this truck.
His dysentery was so bad that he had to wear nappies for most of the distance.
It was very slow, incredibly dangerous. It was really horrendous.
I loved Nepal. I still really do have a fascination for the place. Not because of its spiritual and its mystical side, but more because of its unique difference to the way I live. But it doesn't mean that I'm spiritual, but I do find it amazing, and that's why I like coming here. The jumbo flight from Sydney to Nepal takes, well, 400 years. When you arrive in Kathmandu, you realise here's this medieval city, still intact, where the 20th century's just touched down. I mean, the idea of sacrificing a goat to an aeroplane in order to make sure that the aeroplane flies well for the next 12 months, it's just so outside my experience and my everyday belief that it hardly even registers. Bhaktapur is a really special place. It used to be one of the ancient seats of power in Nepal, and the old kings resided in Bhaktapur. And we decided it would be a good PR exercise to take off from there because it was festival day. In this city, there are the most beautiful and ancient temples and pagodas that I've ever seen. And there's just enough space in the square to lay out a balloon, one at a time, and to take off in among these priceless temples. The town of Bhaktapur is over 1,000 years old, although parts of it have been rebuilt through earthquake damage. To have so many people around and so many people just so excitedly involved in the festival of balloons in that Bhaktapur square has got to be the most memorable occasion ballooning-wise.
Push this way, push this way. No, push it this way. Close the tank as you can.
We're already 95. We've only got a couple of minutes. The wind's picking up. If I take off soon, I'll take the top of the temple out, Leo.
We saw the trees moving just behind one of the temples, and we realised that some wind was coming up, and that, of course, if we were stuck there as wind came through, there was some likelihood of taking out part of the pagoda as we went, so we had to go fast. The people didn't want to let go of the basket, so when we put the burners on, a few of them are still hanging on, and I was a bit worried we were going to take someone with us, you know. So I think Brian was out there with a stick hitting in hands, trying to get people away from the basket so he could take off.
Extraordinary trip.
I was really worried about the top of the temple there. I thought, we'll blow that, there's no way.
We had to go, and it was all right. It's about the most valuable temple in Nepal. Hang on, I've got some. Load them up. Here you are. Great. Load up, swim up. There's a whole couple down there. Quick, load up now.
I'll tell you when we go down and you can see gear above the water level. We might...
Okay.
Wherever we put it down, it's going to go across the rice paddy.
Yeah, we're ready.
Meronam Krishna.
Krishna, yes.
Yeah. Can you tell me the outcome of my balloon expedition? Are we going to have success?
जिन्दगीमा यसले चाहिँ ठुलो नाम कमाउने हो बच्चपनदेखि नै टेक्निकल लाइन और साइन्स.
The lucky star is good. He never thinks on cheapy Charlie things, but only thinks on big things. He must go slowly and be careful of high spirit.
I've never been to a fortune teller before, and in fact I've discovered something about myself. And that is that I was afraid to go because I put some trust in what he had to say.
Possibility of accident, but there won't be any physical harm, only some materials.
Our other fortune teller was Martin Harris. Most of the time he was ill, and despite being very sick, he was up often late hours at the night, early hours in the morning, looking at the sky, trying to interpret using his satellite weather receiving station the best data that was being down to us. We desperately needed this information, and without him I think we would have been in real dire straits.
The weather satellite receiver is tuned so that we can receive the pictures from the NOAA satellites, and that of course is the satellite picture as it's coming in now. So we go to the infrared, and this is the very highest clouds, and the highest things in the whole Himalayas are Mounts Everest, Lhotse and Nuptse and Annapurna, and they set off plumes, and we see plumes from the mountains in Tibet, and these have been coloured red and give an accurate wind speed readout and wind direction readout. And today I looked at the data which I got off the first satellite pass and checked it with the airport, and we were spot on. The wind was 260, 55 knots at 25,000 feet, which is really what we'll need for the flight.
A course at this point because we're flying directly into the sun. We've got a large amount of cloud cover everywhere. Navigation's going to be a real pig, except that we're...
I got a bearing, Chris.
We're building head of the graduator. I'm not sure how you're doing, but 100 pound will last at 30 minutes.
That's pretty heavy. We've used 1 mitten and we're on our first 100 pounder. Kathmandu area.
Kathmandu area, this is hot air balloon, Hotel Oscar Tango, flight level 200, cruising at 35 knots, on course for Lukla, over.
2 weeks prior to the high flight, we took a trip to Lukla. Lukla is the classical high-altitude airstrip at 9,500 feet. It's a graveyard for many aircraft. We needed to acclimatise, to get our bodies used to thin air, high altitude, and to have our blood thin out, to be able to survive if we landed above 15,000 feet. It's a bit like parking your car in a garage at 80 miles an hour. We needed to check out all the possible landing sites for the balloon between Lukla and Everest Base Camp. Well, I've never seen such devastation in all my life wrought from a storm. But there were bridges that were gone that should never have been washed away, that were going to be there forever. There were houses that were washed down the sides of cliffs. There were more deaths and frostbite injuries on record this year than any year up till now. So many people have said to me over the years, listen, you're a fool, you're crazy, you'll get killed at Everest. I am frightened of getting killed, and you'd be a fool not to be fearful of death by accident or any cause. I mean, that's the ultimate unknown. We had a pretty bad experience with running out of fuel in Australia, and it nearly killed us. It was the first test flight of the big balloon, and we took it to 18,000 feet and realised that we didn't have the fuel pressure there to go any higher.
We picked up a really mean wind there today, a really mean one, and
it was cruel on us.
Yeah.
It was really cruel because not only was it a fast wind, but it was cruel because it took us in the most horrible country. All we could do was try and survive the best way we could.
The wind just kept on getting faster and faster, and on one of the approaches we made, we hit a rotor, which forced us down into the trees. I just did not think we'd survive it. We did something that not many people have done. We launched a 200,000 cubic balloon.
And destroyed it.
And destroyed it all in one day. And not many people have done that.
No. We must go down to the Guinness Book of Records. Well, I thought if we're doing this here in Australia with a 200,000 cubic foot balloon, what the hell's going to happen in the Himalayas? We've just got to have our act together a hell of a lot more than we have today.
And we did get our act together, but there were some things that we couldn't control.
We've got a real climb problem here. What's happening? Well, we're not climbing. Just temperature, that's all. But 21 was a good height. We were going right at it.
21 was that way, right?
Okay, 22 this way.
The colder the air, the higher a hot air balloon can go. Our problem was that it wasn't cold enough.
Even at 27,000 feet, we were too low, too slow.
Another 30 minutes to go. It's definitely Amador Blanc straight ahead, with the hook in the left-hand side of it.
No, that's not Amador Blanc.
That's got to be Amador Blanc. Just the angle we were looking at Amador Blanc, Everest.
It was fortunate there were two balloons flying because Zanussi was having some problems with navigation and they were able to follow us.
We don't really know exactly where we are. Where are you in relation to Corfu Valley, Chris?
Okay, we're right absolutely smack on line for Mount Everest. Cruising in at 21,000 feet. We've got a nice little sunrise cliff line. We should be entering the Corfu Valley in about 30 to 50 minutes time.
So we're heading right for the cuckoo.
Oh, he's dark that map reading. I think we should be down. He's overflowing it. Yeah.
I suggest you look at climbing to 7,000 metres. You'll get a much better course for Everest.
That's there, that's Everest.
The highest one?
Yeah, it's the highest one, yeah.
We're going to the left of it.
West of Everest is Gokyo Valley. Brian and Leo had gone up there earlier to check it out for landing sites and also to get some high acclimatisation. There was an enormous amount of snow around left from the October storms, and I realised that if we had to land in this valley and we landed in any distance from the track, it was going to be a hard and arduous journey back to safety. Aidan found the walk up from Lukla very hard. He had all the classic signs of altitude sickness. He was nauseous, he was tired, he was short on breath.
The initial part of the trail was very, very difficult due to the washaways. Finally, I arrived at the bottom of the Thong climb to Namche, and all I could do was 50 metres at a time and sit down. I'd seen Namche as I came through one of the cuttings, and at that point I could not carry my pack. I had to give it away, otherwise I couldn't have walked the final 10 minutes.
After seeing Aidan yesterday, after climbing what I'd consider a reasonably easy hill up to Namche, I have really major reservations about if we do an outlanding, which is very, very likely. It's all very well to say we're going to get to Lukla or whatever, but I reckon the chances are that we're going to end up anywhere, and we have to walk out, and we're going to be in the real shit. Yeah. So Aidan's really shaping up to want to put this balloon down somewhere
at Jiri
or somewhere really safe, which means that the whole objective of the expedition in terms of getting a really fabulous Himalayan, trans-Himalayan flight can be jeopardised.
Jan had a big effect on my life because I've never come across a woman that's enjoyed the same sorts of things that I have to the same intensity.
I think I have a tendency to believe in karma, and I was sitting at home just thinking about mystics of old that had said that they had scaled peaks just by using their consciousness. You know, I've used my body physically and very hard for so many years. It seems as if my mind could be strong enough so that I could climb a peak mentally. And these thoughts were going through my brain the very day the phone rang and asked if I wanted to balloon over Everest. Now, that's definitely man using his brain to scale peaks, isn't it?
I had a dream a number of years ago when I was in Central Australia doing some ballooning. I dreamt that I was climbing on a mountain next to Everest. And I looked down and my climbing partner was there, and she called out to me and said, "You should go to the top, I can't make it from here." So I climbed on anyway, and I made it to the top of the mountain. As I got there, she was there in front of me, and I said, "How did you get here? How did you get to the top of the mountain?" And she stretched out her arms and had these huge wings, these big red wings. And she said, "Follow me." And I opened my own arms, and sure enough, I had wings too. And then I just glided off from the top of this mountain, and then we flew out towards Everest. And
I thought, wouldn't it be great to make a balloon flight across the highest mountains on Earth? So that was how it all started. Tonight was a special night at Tangbache. It was the beginning of the Mani Rimdu festival, the time when the devotees from all over the Khumbu region flocked to the monastery to receive a blessing from the head lama and to protect them from the demons of the mountains for at least another year. In the morning it was 15, 20 degrees below when we got up.
What about the fog?
Right.
The fog?
Yes.
Will it clear?
Yes. Very good, nice it is.
Yeah? Oh.
Nice.
How long?
Now, 59, I use. 59.
59?
Yes.
Oh, no. Fog. When will it clear? Many fog? 5 minutes?
No. 1 hour. 1 hour, very clean.
1 hour, very clear.
Very clean.
Great. Excellent.
Yes,
Thank you.
I
very much.
Yes.
Very good.
Very good. Are you...
The cold penetrates and affects everything. It can affect the cameras and cause condensation on the lenses. It can affect the batteries. When you're cold, your thinking processes slow down.
Don't you touch it! What's that? This is a British balloon. If you come in this balloon, you're flying under that flag. I'm an Australian. I don't care what you are. You have an Australian curtsy flag if you like. It's a British balloon. Shut up.
We wanted to test the balloons in a high mountain environment, particularly in the area where we thought we might land at the end of the big flight.
I think they should consider descending fairly soon. Well, they're getting drawn towards the ridge with the sunlight on it, and they're going to have to descend against the thermal upcurrent if they go much further towards it.
I knew immediately then we took off from Kundi that the high altitude flight coming down into this valley was going to be a desperate business. From 2,000 foot above the valley, it looked so tiny, and that I knew that it was going to require precision flying.
What are you doing, Zanussi? We're coming down before we hit the mountain. Are you moving away from the hill at the moment, or are you going straight down? We're supposed to be going straight down. We have to go off. JMP, if you get into the sunlight, get out fast. But don't leave it too long. It's quite strong up there. Take the straight in this road and stop it doing it that way.
All expeditions en route for Everest pass through Tangbache Monastery, and it's traditional to have a blessing from the head lama. And it was at this time that we realised that Aidan wasn't with us to get the blessing. I don't think the blessing was very relevant to Aidan's karma. It was more that Aidan wasn't there, so the experiences that all of us shared weren't shared by Aidan. So when that happens on an expedition, it does create a different feeling between the members, and I think that's the reality of it.
What's the news on Aidan? The Jungle Telegraph's buzzing with rumour. What's he up to?
Well, wish you could tell me. All I know is that he's left Namche, jumped into a Pilatus Porter, left his gear there. So
where's he flown to?
Well, I presume he's gone back to Kathmandu. When we got back to Lukla, we had to wait 3 days for an aircraft. But at least the mystery of Aidan was solved when the King's helicopter arrived. Aidan had been based in Kathmandu for the last 7 days and had created a spot for himself navigating the helicopter between Lukla and Kathmandu.
And what's wrong with walking from Namche back to Lukla with us?
Oh, when you can go on a porter to 18,000?
Yeah, all
So
right.
he took me to 18,000,
Right.
and then he flew down the valley at 15.
Right.
So I was map reading.
Right.
And then the line that we want to take...
So you're map reading, right?
Exactly.
All right, go
Now,
on.
the line that we wanted to fly,
Yeah.
he took me exactly. But every now and then he'd dart off 10 miles and say, there's a landmark.
Ah, I don't believe it. Only Aidan Wicks can fly at a Shiangwich day on the Pilatus Porter. Do 3 hours of map reading all over the bloody Everest area. Come back into your Miami helicopter and tell me all about it, and then piss off again.
Regardless of what Aidan learned about the terrain, the highest priority was for him to spend time at altitude because he was noticeably affected by the trek up and he needed to do as much walking at altitude as possible.
Bye-bye, Aidan! You son of a bitch!
People die in 48 hours if they haven't learned to live at high altitude properly. The problem was that some of the expedition members, particularly Leo, thought that Aidan would want to bomb it in early and come in before getting to the Khumbu Valley.
This cloud's bad. We're never going to bloody see that big crazy valley. Not in a fit. No, not at all. Bloody fit. No. What we will see, though, Chris, is Numba. And we'll have to make a decision whether we're prepared to fly over Numba or land before it. Nice, Aidan. We've got to go over it, mate. Yeah, but then you've got to find the valley. Well, if you land before Numba, well, we're in the bloody Tashivacha area. We're like a week's walk, 2 weeks walk. This will be an adventure. But an adventure.
But as it turned out, the real problem was that we were running low on fuel.
Finally, we went past Gurushanka, which was my halfway mark, and we'd gone through 2/3 of the fuel. And I said, look, we just got to get right up into the jet stream if we're going to make this. So away we started to climb. We're climbing along about 26.5. The burn rate went right down. We couldn't get much more height.
They're having trouble with burner pressure. Well, Chris, if we'd have had a bit more gas, we'd have done it. But not too bad, you know. Not bad. We haven't not far yet. No. That's good. That's it, Chris.
And all of a sudden, that deathly silence at every balloonist hates, and everything went out.
There wasn't enough oxygen in the atmosphere to allow the igniters to reignite the pilot lights. The only way to do it was to get a direct flame, to use matches.
We're the rapid, you're faster, they're dropping fast.
I went through a box of matches trying to get it alight, and it was a desperate business as we plummeted through the air. Leo had one leg over the basket, still filming with his camera in one hand and his right hand on the ripcord.
I was ready to kind of just leap over the side to lighten the thing.
Until we'd fallen about 8,000 feet, there still wasn't enough oxygen in the air for the matches to fire.
At that point, we had 1 minute to get a light and 1 minute to get out.
Put that camera down. Got it. And start straight. Okay.
Aidan put all the 3 burners on, and he'd said to me before, if he ever had the 3 burners going, it would be an absolute emergency.
And we still accelerated downwards for 2,000 feet.
You know, that speed, you'd have died, hitting a steep, rocky hillside.
Oh, boy. I was going to tell you to start hitting those strikers like your life depended on it, Leo. And your life was depending on it. Thanks, Chris. Oh, boy. That made the adrenaline pump. Where's Lukla, right? No, I think it's One Valley Pass, Chris. There's no chance of getting to it. So I think we've got to do discretion now and live. We're going to go down and live, Leo. Look where the newsy is.
We've run out of fuel. We're having to descend.
They're lighter than us. Yeah. They got more fuel. We had a half-empty tank. We're not going to make it. It's a disaster. No, it's not a disaster at all. They're not going to get as far as us. Oh, I'm not going to get my bottles of Bollinger. No, I thought we were going to make it for sure.
What do you think about the fuel? Who's going to land in that valley ahead there? We've got 3 tanks. So if we've got 2 tanks left when we get there, I think we should descend, don't you?
I think it's probably quite wise, actually. I don't think we're going to get over the top of that one, look.
I don't think we'll get across the top. No.
I think we come down, and we'll come down to about the ridge top level here. I'll bring it down.
Okay, hang on. No, I can't. There we go, that ridge will be all right, Chris.
Are we going into this round?
Right, we'll see how we drop and what the winds are like when we get down there. Leo,
I'm going to have to ask you to just bear with me as I push you around.
Yes,
because
sure.
now we're in a situation we've got to stay in this valley and see what happens. Pull that off me, Chris. Get rid of that. Just break the wires. Chris, get that under my chin, please.
Put it under?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll sort it out. You keep flying.
We've got to get down the bottom, Chris, and get cold winds.
Yeah.
Before there's too much updraft. And you know where we're going to walk, Chris, do you?
No idea, maybe.
There's J&B right below us. They look like they're landing.
I'll tell you what, we're looking a bloody sight better than they are.
Yeah, that's no great shakes.
No, they're looking pretty bad, actually.
We want the next valley where the cloud is anyway, don't we?
No, we don't want to go there.
Why not?
I don't think we'll make it.
Not enough gas?
Yeah, I don't think we've got enough gas.
I figure the next valley is the lower, deeper one.
Look, we can't get into the next valley.
All right.
I don't think we'll make it, Jan. That's the problem.
All right. I'll accept that. J&B looks like they're going to hit that ridge.
They do, don't they?
Keep it going all the way. Rip, 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 rip. Rip it out, Rip. It's a long, long way to go. Okay, stop, let it go. When you look at where you're going to live the next 30 seconds, you think, Christ, this is really hard to put a balloon in here and get out of it, as most of it is 30 degrees down. Leo, lean forward when we hit. Chris will come on top of you and I'll come on beside you. Okay. Pull it out, Chris.
You want to land?
Leo, move. Just steady, Chris. We'll stop. Leo, go and help me. Don't take the camera. It'll be hard work. Look, if we can... Chris and I decide the only way to save this balloon is to get a rope and for Chris to pull it across. And the trees are 6 to 8 feet high. Go, let the rope go! That's right, let it go. And every now and then I'd burn, the balloon would get hot, and Chris would hang onto this rope all the time saying, don't burn! Don't burn! Don't burn! Okay. Chris, why don't we accept it here before we get into the trees? This'll do. Otherwise we'll drop it on the trees. Ah, Jesus. No, I didn't mean to. That was a bump. You better get the other side of the line, Leo. Other side, top side.
Coming towards the slope. Could be nasty.
What could be nasty?
I'm worried, Phil. You can get sucked into there and scraped out the other side.
Well, let's put it down. You were talking about gift wrapping a tree. I really don't think it's wise to go over the ridge.
Yes, I agree there. If we bump sideways with some of those rocks, we'll do some horrible damage.
Right, stop it now then. I think we're going to hit.
So do I.
Well, we'll probably hit the balloon before the basket. What's the trick, Brian? Do we let it fall down?
I think we have to. Hey, we'll see what the wind does with it. Dropping right, just making this shallow, you know?
I'd vent real quick. That's a very, very fast upslope wind. Well, I'd vent now. I'd vent now.
No, there's a ridge. No, we won't vent. We want to go over that ridge.
Oh, jeez, you won't make it. We'll hit it. I hope we don't smash ourselves.
Those trees, we're at the top of those trees. Now, we just start to dump any second. Yes, we're dumping now. Dumping like fury. As hard as I can. Right now, this bit here. Jesus. Bend your legs, chaps. This is going to be all right. Bend your legs. Bend your legs. You're going to come in hard. Here we go. It's going to be hard. Bend your legs. Bend your legs. Big tree. Keep on that fucking rip line.
Oh, this is terrific.
The real McCoy. It's still a thermal, that. Frankly, look below. Jesus. I'm terrified.
Now, hopefully we'll fall down out of this, Brian.
I don't want to fall down.
Why not? There's a great little valley there.
Chris, I mean, you're actually looking out my side of the basket. Think you're going to settle into there?
If you're worried, Brian, I can get you out of here. This is no sweat.
Look at my side of the basket!
Oh, Brian. I hope my camera makes it. It's hooked in that tray.
Oh, she's interested in the bloody camera, this woman.
Can I grab the tree?
No, it's all right. Don't worry. We're going to fall down.
We're just going to do it on the face.
No!
Oh, there we go.
Absolutely.
Shot it! Duck.
Okay, now I suggest...
I've still got this rip, man. So do I.
Turn on that pilot banners, Jan.
If these are the pilot banners, I can't let go of this rip.
Turn it off.
God, what a superb sight. Look at that. Film it, Grim. Film it. Film it.
I think we ought to get out of the basket before we roll.
That's a good point.
Good point, Richie.
I'm trying, but I'm high, so I'm on it. You get out first.
We're gonna roll.
God almighty.
All right. Hey, turn it off.
No. No, I'm still stuck. I'm finger stuck. Cannot move.
Jan, she burnt her hands putting out the fire before it reached the oxygen and propane. The boys were pretty lucky, really. And Phil and Brian, well, they gift wrapped the tree like they always promised to do and spent 3 days unwrapping it. The fortune teller was right. We did do a lot of material damage, and Aidan survived with the help from oxygen. And Leo, well, it's the first time he's ever landed in a balloon. He's always jumped out before now. And we were happy. We'd done the highest alpine flight in history. And Brian still owes me 2 bottles of Bollinger.
So while they didn't make it over Everest, they did set a new ballooning record. And anyway, they got to fly above those great mountains and to see a world in a totally new and unexpected way. And that's why people look for adventure and will probably keep those men and that woman searching for another one. In fact, Jan is researching old trade routes in Nepal and Tibet for future adventures. Phil is still making balloons, and Brian is building an airship to fly across Africa. Chris is planning another balloon trip to fly 3,000 miles across Australia. Why do they do it? Remember, it was Jan who said, "To say no is to deny myself all that I can be." Join us again for adventure. I'm Dodge Morgan.
Adventure is made possible by this station and other public television stations nationwide.